the whole idea that we need to shop and shop and shop and shop to belong, to be happy, to be okay, also has a negative effect, of course, on how sustainable we can act.
Well, Marieke Eyskoot, welcome very much to the IFA 2023 podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me. And that was actually quite a good rendition of my name.
Well,
done.
I have done some Dutch lessons. I wouldn't say I can
really
speak Dutch,
good.
but I do my best, which unfortunately is rarely good enough, but I try.
No, for me, that was more than good enough. I was pleasantly surprised. Well done.
Well, it's nice to know all those years of living in the Netherlands has paid off in like
Well,
this,
now you can pronounce my name. That's what it was all about, right?
Exactly. So you're a speaker, a writer, a TV presenter, generally about around sustainability and such. So can you just give a little update to, the people watching, listening at home about what it is you do and your particular area of expertise?
So what I try to do is make it easier for people to make more sustainable choices. So I've written a book that's called This is a Good Guide for a Sustainable Lifestyle, to give you everything you need to be able to be more consciously, making choices maybe when it comes to fashion or food or beauty, home, work, or life in general, really. And then I give talks, I speak on stage, I host and present at different events when they have something to do with sustainability. And I'm one of the presenters of the daily Dutch television program Binnenste Buiten. You can try that maybe if you like.
Binnenste Buiten?
I thought it was really good. Inside Out, maybe, for people who don't speak Dutch as well as you do.
Oh, thank you.
Where we showcase the best of the Netherlands and, in my particular case, the best of sustainable innovation in the Netherlands.
So yeah, an absolute Swiss Army knife of talents and roles there. So I think to narrow down a bit, and by narrow down I mean ask the broadest question possible. What is sustainability? Exactly. Oh, I knew it was going to come, but I queued it up for you nicely. So that's something.
For me, being sustainable is made or done with respect for people and our environment. So there may be also a bit of a broad answer for you there. Yeah,
a broad question somehow deserves a broad answer in itself. So, it's pretty clear that sustainability is getting more and more important to people, and we're talking about it in ways that, I think 5-10 years ago, we didn't have the vocabulary that we have now to deal with it. What do you think kind of the impact that has on people's psyche? Do you think that it's helpful, or are we now getting into this kind of Malcolm Gladwell-esque tipping point where people are so tired of hearing about sustainability and the change isn't happening as quickly as they'd want? Where do you think we are as a society when it comes to that?
I think it's difficult to sort of pinpoint one specific place that we are, because there's so many different people going into sustainability at different speeds, different entry levels, different roles within that. But I think as a whole, I think we're becoming a lot smarter. So we're becoming more savvy. And I think that's important because with more interest for the subject, more, let's say, greenwashing arrives as well in our lives. And I think it's very important to recognize and be able to resist a lot of, let's say, the messaging that comes with sustainability, but also with, I think, marketing in general. I think being able to recognize, what is happening and the way it influences you as a person, with the thousands of messages that, get to us from, all different, walks of life. You just get them from when you're very small. When we're very little, we're already being bombarded with, lots of messages telling you that you're not good enough. And I think that is one of the key areas of sustainability and marketing that we need to talk about.
And how would you go about recognizing that? Because there's this mental load, I guess,
Yes.
that when it comes to the amount of decisions, you only have like depending on some theories, you only have like a certain amount of willpower a day to kind of recognize this. What are easy ways to spot and go against greenwashing and those sort of marketing tactics?
Thank you. I think you're so right. There's only a small percentage that we have available to be, very conscious with these things. I started a movement called Sustainability Against Shame a few years ago because I think the marketing tactic around shaming is one that we should be really aware of, because it has two very, I think, important results. Being told through social media, through advertisements, through, posters, magazines, television, everywhere, that you don't look good enough. You don't wear the right clothes. You don't have the right smartwatch or smartphone. You should be different. So you shouldn't have any, lines, or you shouldn't be wrinkly, or you shouldn't have grey hair or sweating, or all of those things that are natural to us. We're being told again and again that that is not okay. So that you don't belong. You'll never be happy. You'll never be an okay person if you don't wear that particular dress or jacket or jeans, if you don't, drive that car, if you don't look like a model, honestly. So that type of communication has two very important effects. We feel quite negatively about ourselves most of the time. Many of us really do. Mm-hmm. We doubt ourselves, we feel insecure, and big companies thrive on our negative self-image because, it's really good to feel that you're not good enough, because that will really help us feel that we can solve that by shopping. And the whole idea that we need to shop and shop and shop and shop to belong, to be happy, to be okay, also has a negative effect, of course, on how sustainable we can act. Because if we're being sort of, almost imprisoned by that whole idea that our whole reason to be here in society, in life, is to shop and buy more and more and more, that will counteract any of the ideas that we might have about, changing our ways and trying to really, be a different, more sustainable person. So I think we need to really recognize and resist the way that type of marketing works, to not just save ourselves, but the world as well.
So the goal then is to effectively find a way of being at peace within.
Yes.
And focus on your own ability to be comfortable with who you are and where you are, because then that will help you avoid falling for that kind of shame-based tactic that says, to be the person you want to be,
you need to be, you should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to buy, you need to consume, you need to get the next big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. While being able to focus back in, that can help avoid those sort of greenwashing sustainability issues that come through.
Yes, because I think this is a topic that we sometimes overlook when we talk about sustainability, because it's often quite focused on materials, on carbon print, all of those type of things, where it's like our decisions as humans are what shapes life and what shapes society and our own ability to take action. And I think it's very important to look inside ourselves and think about the way that we decide to do something. And that's heavily influenced by those type of tactics. So I think for us to be able to free ourselves of that whole idea, and I don't say don't ever buy anything new ever again, or you can't use makeup, or you can't ever try and get something new that you like, but do that because you want to, not because you feel that you have to, or that someone or a company is telling you that if you don't, you're not good enough.
So you mentioned there taking action with that. So if someone's looking to live a more sustainable life, you mentioned a few points there, just, maybe not buying stuff for the sake of it, buying it because you want it. But what are some other day-to-day actions that people can take in order to live a more sustainable, greener life?
I think when you want to start with something, it sometimes feels that you have to really do something epic, like big things. Otherwise, it's not going to, change much. And that can sometimes feel like a bit of a barrier. Well, if you change something that's fairly small, but you pick something that you do daily, then if you add all of that up, that's actually quite a massive change. So, for instance, the United Nations tell us that consuming less meat and dairy is one of the most important things we as citizens can contribute to a better world. So if you, for instance, like yogurt or milk with your breakfast every day, and you change that for a plant-based version, that's something nice that you can go and explore. Which ones do I like? What is a new taste? Otherwise, if we keep doing the same, we keep, experiencing the same. So you go on a little adventure to find, your new daily fix. And then if you change your breakfast up every day, because assuming that you eat breakfast every day, otherwise pick something that you eat every day, that's 365 times change. It's big.
Yeah, those things add up over time and make a huge difference. And then if you're thinking to kind of, put the conversation to a natural conclusion, what would you want the future of sustainability to look like? How is the blend between our personal actions and, say, regulation that needs to happen on big companies? What's the ideal future in 10, 20 years? Is it that we are still having to make sustainable decisions and we have freedom, or is it more that there's enough structure put around the world where everything we do, as much as possible, is kind of sustainable, just built in?
Definitely the latter. And I think we need laws ASAP for this, because that's what we have laws and regulations for, right? To sort of put into place what we like and what we don't like. I think it's actually quite strange that many of this sort of, let's say, very exploitative actions and behaviors by companies are still allowed in a way. How come that's still, something that you get away with?
Money, I think.
Yes, money, lobby, all of that. That means that when we go to a store, we can choose between two items. That one is a regular item and then one is made more sustainably. That's already a strange choice, I think. How come can we buy things that are made through exploitation of people and the planet? I don't want it. I think no one really does, actually. And then the product, the item that was made more sustainably, needs to stand out with a label. What does that mean? That means that exploitation is the norm. I think we need to change the norm the other way around. And if something is made through exploitation, it needs to stand out and it needs to shout at you, saying this is made in a horrible way. I wouldn't buy it if I were you. And I think we really need to lay down in laws, European and then worldwide, that products that were made that really destroy people and our planet elsewhere where we can't see it are not allowed to enter our markets anymore. It needs to stop, like right now.
Yeah, of course. So I think you hit the nail on the head perfectly there, where if people actually knew how these things were made, how many people would buy them? I completely agree. I think very, very few, right?
I mean, how could you do that? I mean, imagine at home or wherever you are, maybe walking your dog, wherever you are, being in a store, actually picking up a product that says this, completely destroyed someone's life by chemicals, by underpayment, poverty, all of this. Enjoy.
Yeah. This was mined by someone on 1p a day who lost their leg in a mining accident. You're unlikely to pick up back and go, yeah, this is the moisturizer for me.
I can't wait to try this.
Marieke, thank you very much for your time. It was a fascinating conversation. And yeah, I really love your tip as well about trying to do a small thing every day to get a little bit sustainable. I like the idea of adventurous eating via the means of spread and milk. So thank you very much for joining us on this E4Life podcast. And are there any social media channels that people can come find you?
So it's my name, and you can maybe say it again because you're so good at it.
Marieke Eyskoot.
It's perfect. So, and it has an E and a Y in it. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.